Alright guys, so I have never made this before, so I'm not doing an intro. It is the Hullabaloo Hobo Bag by KM Designs. So I have cut it all out, and because I've never made it, I've actually got all the pieces attached because there's a lot of very similar looking pieces and I don't want to mess it up. So I've got like this big pile. I've actually got my pattern up next to me, so you can probably see my mouse here so I can scroll down if I get stuck. But let's get started. So I'm starting with the strap tab because I understand what that is. Basically, I'm going to do all the bits I do know, and then if I get stuck, we'll go to the pattern. So there's probably not a lot of rhyme or reason to what I'm doing today. But I do know that these are the strap tabs. So you cut it as one long one, and then you cut it in half. And then I'm going to rule a line down the center of each of them. So these are the tabs that are going to hold the strap on. Not going to put my ruler too far because I will probably need a lot today. So I'm just going to stick some double-sided tape on the line that I just traced. And then peel the backing off with my non-existent nails. There we go. Fold each side into the center, like so. Now this vinyl that I'm using is similar but not the same as the one that Spotlight's got. So this is just a much softer version. I got it from the upholstery guy that was moving into state and sold all his stuff. Alright. So now that I've folded them in half, I'm just going to stitch probably along the edge. I think will look nice on this one. So I've got a 3 3/4 stitch length going on. And then we can just trail the next one on behind it. Chop off the tails now so that they aren't in my way. And then, so I'm just doing 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Like that. And then I have some rings. So I get these in packs of 6 from Spotlight over near where all the Dreamcatcher stuff is. So I'm just going to be using these. And then there is my tab. Just going to clip it, pull this out, grab my other one. Like that. And clip it. And then I actually think I might put a rivet in that towards the end. But so they're done, so I can pop those aside. Next we're going to do the side accent pockets. Because again, that's what I know I can do. So I just need to grab... So this is what I did for the lining part, and then the outside is going to be vinyl. So, put right sides together, and then stitch along that top edge. So I'm going to go back to a joining stitch of 2.5, back stitch at the start, and then back stitch at the end, and then grab the second one and do the same thing. I love chain stitching. I definitely find it faster. Then I'm going to go up to 3 3/4 stitch length. Chop off my tails, because if I do it as I go, I don't have the problem later. Alright. So then I'm just going to roll it with my fingers and finger press it down, and then stitch 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Back stitch, chop off the other one. Look at us go, we're kicking goals. I actually think that the outside of this bag is quicker than the inside. The inside's got a whole bunch of funky pockets, to which I am doing all of them this pattern. because I can. And because it's usually the first pattern, like, test that I do decides what I do and don't like on the inside. Because I haven't done one, we don't know. So now I'm going to grab my outside, I don't know what it was called, but it's the side piece where they sit. And I'm just going to baste it on because then it's one piece and I don't have to think about it again. So I'm just going to line up the edges. I'm just going to leave it on 3 3/4. It doesn't really matter. Chop that off. Stitch down the side. Needle in the down position. Pivot. Now you'll notice when you make this that it does have like a bit of a point in the bottom that is meant to be there. You haven't cut it wrong. Just want to point that out. Alright. So that is now your side part of your bag. Let's do the other one. So again, grab your funky piece. Kind of looks like a sleeve. If I was making a dress, it would be the sleeve piece. Line it up. Even though I haven't made it yet, I can see that this is potentially a very cool baby bag with little pockets. Like a day one when you don't want to take like a giant bag. This could be awesome. Alright, so I've just stitched 1/8 of an inch along the edges just so that it's joined. So now that's one piece. Pop that aside. And I'm going to grab my centerpiece. Now, this would be great. This is the centerpiece of the bag. So this would be really, really cool if you embroidered something on the front of it. I obviously didn't do that. I don't have a lot of time today. I am very, very far behind in orders, but that will not stop me from giving you guys a video. It just stops me from embroidering. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the centerpiece and then we're going to attach it to one of the funky side pieces we just did and stitch it together. So all the seam allowances are in the pattern. I did read that before I started this. I feel like that was an important thing to know. And I did like a quick browse through the pictures. I will need to go back and find what zipper length I need because I did not check that. That was not the smartest thing I've ever done, but that's okay. And then we're going to grab another one and join it to the other side. So I'm going to make like this really long piece of stuff. And then we're going to top stitch all the cool bits. Because we all know how I like to have the least amount of pieces possible. Okay, so now you should have funky piece, skinny piece, funky piece, and then to any of the sides, we are going to stitch another funky piece. Skinny piece, sorry, to the funky piece. I know they have names. I don't remember what they were. Side front, maybe? Okay. So now before I go and join this as a circle, I'm going to go and top stitch a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to put my stitch length back up to 3 3/4, and I'm going to top stitch this so it's all going to sit flat. So I'm going to top stitch it on the front center piece because that's where I want my accents. That might be wrong. I don't know. So I'm doing 3 3/4 stitch length and I'm just kind of tugging this over as I go. Back stitching, because back stitching is important. And then we're going to do the other side of the front main panel. Because I didn't put any kind of embroidery or anything there, this will actually give it like a nice little accent anyway. So I'm doing 1/8 of an inch, and I'm just using my foot as a guide to know what that is. So basically I'm lining that seam up with the center of the side of my foot. All right, then we'll come over to this one and do this one. So you just want to make sure that your seam allowance is pointing where you're going to stitch. You want to stitch it down flat. That's the other point of this. Not just decorative, but functional as well. There's a good chance you were possibly meant to stitch it to the other side, but I didn't do that because then that will make the pocket smaller. We don't necessarily want to do that. Okay, so now we're up to the final join, and then we're going to be funky and get in there and do a top stitch. But 1 is better than 4. Back stitch at the start. Stitch on down, chop off your tails. Oh look, I missed another one. Up to 3 3/4. This is literally how I do patterns before videos, except I tend to not talk to myself. And I've usually got music blaring. Which I have now made a playlist of all my favorite songs on Spotify because I think I'm funny. I don't play music during the videos because it's like a copyright issue. So I'm just pulling on this, not greatly, but firmly, to make sure that I've got the fold right where I want it. Because there's no foam on this bag, that actually wasn't at all difficult to do, which is good. All right, chop off your tails. And then pull it out. So now we have a funky loop. Get those tails now, because I know that they're there. All right. Oh, there's another tail. Oh, I'm terrible at this today. If you get the tails now, they won't accidentally get in the way later. So that's how big the bag's going to be. It's going to be huge. I like it. Now I'm going to take my bottom panel. Now I've put the stabilizer on because I needed to iron that. And then the pattern comes with the holes of where the feet go. So I've just punched them out with a hole punch because this is all laminated. So now I can literally just lay it on top, mark the holes, and off I go. Like that. Pop that aside. I'm going to throw it on the floor. I normally wouldn't do that. I'd just like to point that out. So now I've got my marks. I need to grab some bag feet because that's the one thing I forgot to grab. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to run out of bag feet actually. Okay. So I'm going to grab my craft knife to stab the holes. And I've also got some duct tape because I don't fully trust the feet not to come out. So I'm just going to stab over the holes with the craft knife. Like so. And then stab it up and in. So I'm going to push all 4 of them through, then I'll turn it over, bend them down, and then duct tape over them. Alright, they're just basically split pins. I've actually got a new lot coming to trial. Don't know when they'll get here though. I got some rivet ones and some domed rivets, which I think will be kind of fun. So now I'm just going to take my duct tape, cut an approximate amount. I can always cut it shorter, and then stick it over the bag feet. So I just want to smush that down really well, because that's just going to give them like an added stability to not come out. Or you could just do single ones like that as well. I have a lot of crazy things living in this sewing room that you wouldn't think, but duct tape is glorious. So that's just going to give an added protection to your feet so they're less likely to be pulled out if they were to catch on something. Cool. So now I'm going to fold it in half, find my centers, and I'm going to get my clipping scissors. I've been contemplating buying a notcher. I've seen them, it keeps popping up in my newsfeed, probably because I mentioned it out loud. I just don't know if I need it. It's not much different to me doing that, but it's another tool I have to find a home for. Also, probably do this before you put the stabilizer on the bottom, because it's much harder to bend with stabilizer. It's not impossible, it's just more difficult. Okay, so now I've got all 4 points of that done. I'm going to grab the outside that we have made and go to the bottom, obviously. And so then I'm going to line up these side seams, and then that is a center point. So I'm going to do the same to the other side, like this. And then I'm going to do the same to those vinyl centerpieces. Now I didn't interface the vinyl because it's thick enough for what I need, but if I had have done that out of fabric, I definitely would have interfaced it. Okay, so now grab our wonder clips, and so I'm going to take the center point here and line it up with that short piece there because that's the center of the bag. Clip it on. So I'm going to put 3 clips, and then I'm going to go to the opposite side and then clip that piece. So lining up the little clip marks that we made. You could also do pen marks if you wanted to as well. Then I'm going to come to the end and I'm going to line up the end mark. And I always do 3 clips because it adds stability so that it's less likely to move. 1 clip means it can still swivel. 3 clips means it's solidly in place. The outside was wonderful. The inside is going to be potentially a challenge because there's like a whole bunch of different pockets we're doing. We're doing 3 different pockets on the inside of this bag, which I would normally tell you in an intro, but this one's not getting one. Probably should have done this live for you. Sorry about that. Didn't think about it till right now. Okay, so I'm just clipping the rest of the sides in. Which is going quite swimmingly well because I did the right seam allowances on the outside. If you don't pay attention to the seam allowances, this potentially will not fit. That's when you start having troubles. Because if you made too much of a seam allowance, then this piece will be too small. And if you've done a smaller seam allowance, this will be too big. And that's when you get like little puckers and things. But I'm feeling like I've done pretty well. This is fitting pretty easily. Lots of people often suggest in my comments that I should staple this. I have tried. My stapler broke. Second one I tried to do, and the first one didn't even go in. So I have decided to not do the stapling method because my stapler is now dead. I'm gonna put my craft knife away so I don't stab myself with it. And move the scissors. Now I'm gonna start on a flat bit here because I've got less clips so I can get in. I'm making sure I'm on a joining stitch length, which for me is 2.5. And I just remembered to grab the tail on this so that it doesn't disappear. So I've done a couple of back stitches. and then I'm just sewing around. So I'm constantly turning this, and I'm holding the bag up as a 3D object because that's what we're sewing. We're not sewing two straight bits together, so it'll help you if you hold it the way it's supposed to sit. And none of that has been stitching because I ran out of bobbin thread. Surely not. Brand new bobbin. Oh my goodness. Oh no, this is the brand new bobbin. That was the half bobbin. That makes more sense. I did anticipate this happening, which is why I have a second bobbin. But that did not last as long as I thought it would. And I just pulled off half of it. So tip with your bobbins, if you've never watched one of my videos before, never fully wind them on industrials. They always give you more grief than it's worth. I try to do them 3/4 full. Mainly because they're not my friend. And if you do them 3/4 full, then they've got less chance to misbehave and come untangled because they're over full. Domestic machines, though, fill them up. I've never had an issue on a domestic. All right, fold those out of the way. Let's try this again. Okay, now we're back to where we're up to. So again, I'm just pushing it around as I go. Holding it as a 3D object. Picking up my clips as I go as well because I don't like too much mess in my space, even though I've got all of this here. Normally, it would be where the camera's sitting. And I'm back to the start, so I backstitch. Trim off all of that. Clips back in the skull jar. And voila! So you will notice on this side of the stitching, it is a little bit wonky, but at my stitching, it is beautiful. That is normal. That is the way it's meant to be. You can then check on the inside to make sure you don't have any issues. Mine is lovely. You can't probably see it because it's dark. I used a dark color. That was silly. But there you go. That is the outside of the bag complete. Now, onto all of these pockets. So, let's do the glasses pocket because that's the accent panel I've found. So the glasses pocket is this funky shape here. So, the pattern's written really well actually. Because it's already kind of joined and everything, all you do is put wrong sides together and crease it. If you're not doing a video, iron it, or iron it when you're at there putting the interfacing on. And then this is just going to be, I assume, a double fold biasy kind of look. So I'm just going to stick some tape in the center. And yes, I'm aware I didn't draw a line. I very rarely draw lines off camera anymore. My eyes can do centered, which is kind of fun. Like that. And then like that, so that this is just going to stop all the raw edges. Like so. And then we fold it in half and stitch it on the edge. I don't know if that's how they did it on this. This is how I'm going to do it. We don't need to worry about these bits. These bits are going to be in the seam. I did do a quick read through of the pattern. All right, so I'm just going to fold all that down up to 3 3/4 so it's decorative and pretty. And then on, fold, and down. Much like I do with the aprons. If ever anybody watched the apron video, this is the same principle, just with vinyl. Voila! That looks kind of cute, actually. So then we fold it in half like this. And we grab one of our lining pieces, which are these bad boys are right here. And we just stick it in the seam. So I'm going to put it 1 inch up from the bottom. I'm actually wondering, was I meant to sew the bottom of this? Maybe I should check. I don't think so. Right. Pleated pocket, zippered pocket, glasses pocket. Fold the piece in half, side to side, baste the side edge, top stitch the bottom edge. Okay, so we top stitch the bottom edge. There we go. Glad I checked. Whoa, got a knot. I got a knot that's stuck. Fantastic, can't wait. When you have this, if you can get your scissors in, you chop it, and it solves most of your problems. See? All fixed. So let's do that again. Aha! Back stitch. And then I wanted to baste this, but I don't think I need to. Then 1 inch from the bottom. Oh, stop it. I didn't even backstitch that time. Why are you not my friend today? I oiled it right before this video. It should be fine. And this is a good thread. Maybe it needs a new needle. I've made myself a new rule that I'm only allowed to sew 10 bags per needle with how much I sew. And I think this bag number 9, so it's probably time for a new needle. It's not helping my cause today. And yes, I yell at my machine. Totally normal. Okay. Cute little glasses pocket now, which also, if you were using this as a baby bag, you could make it just a little bit bigger and it could fit a bottle. Actually, that would fit a skinny bottle, just not those really wide ones. Okay, next piece is... Sorry, no, hold on. What have I got? Okay, so this one is my zippered pocket. So instead of cutting 2, I trace one so that I can just have one piece so I can do the pockets how I do them, because that's what I wanted to do. So I did alter the pattern only like a smidgy little bit. So this is now my pocket. And I'm going to need my Chaco pen because it's black on the back. I've used a black interfacing again because I am trying to clear it out. Now, probably the easiest way to do this, in all honesty, is to grab your zipper accent piece, which I swear I cut. Okay, that's that pocket. That is my pleated pocket accent panel, so that goes with that. Probably should have pinned these like this. That would have made way more sense. That's the bottom. That's the side. Where's my zipper accent? You know what? I think it's fallen down somewhere. It has. Ta-da! So, the easiest way to make sure that your zipper accent is going to fit is literally just line it up and trace the hole on the inside. That'll do it. Then you know you're 100% going to fit. So I'm just going to use my ruler to make this a bit quicker. Rule that side. Rule that side. Do the short ends. Now this is chalk. So if anybody that doesn't know what a Chaco pen is, I assume it's called that. Chaco? Chaco? I don't know. It's got chalk dust in it, and it's got this little wheel on the end, so it's like a pen, but it disperses the chalk dust. So even though I got it on here, you just rub it on your pants, and it's gone. Okay. I need to do a video of all the must-haves. I might do that. I might do that today, actually. So I'm going to grab a side piece. So I might grab the one I just put this on. Probably would have made sense to put it on after this, but whatever. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to open this out, and the piece I didn't draw on always goes to the top. And then we just want to pop this in the middle. So again, I can eyeball the middle pretty well, but if you can't, feel free to measure it, mark it, pin it, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to manually put my needle into the corner, stitch a couple, back stitch a couple, on the proviso that my machine doesn't eat it, because it's misbehaving today. Then I'm going to needle down and pivot, sew along that line, pivot, sew the short end, which is usually for me only like 3 or 4 stitches. I run into those end stitches and then I back stitch. And then I trim my tails because I'm trying to be better at that. Not just for you, for me as well. All right, pinch. I'm gonna chop just a little snip. Oh, see, I'm trying to be better, but I miss some all the time. So I've snipped through all the layers, and I just do a little snip for anyone that's never done one of these before, so that I can get my scissors in and slice approximately down the middle. Now, when you get about 1/2 inch from the end, you triangle out the ends. So what that means is you literally cut a triangle. And you want to get as close to the stitching as you can without actually cutting it, so that you get this triangle there. All right, push all of this through like so. And I need to cut a zipper that is 12 inches wide. I can, with the weight of this, I can see where you should put it on second, just FYI. But that's the one I was excited about. I've never done a pocket that has one of these. New things excite me and I always race ahead, whatever. All right, so I've just finger pressed that. Now I've got my tub of zipper tape next to me, so I can just cut them as I need them, because I am still going to need to switch back to the start of the pattern and find out how long the top zip needs to be. Once I do the pattern, if I make a pattern and I decide I really like it, I write all of that information on the main panel piece or somewhere that's got like a lot of space that I can see it. So I just get a permanent marker and I'll write 1 12-inch zip, 1 whatever inch zip. So all the pieces that, because most patterns have like a section of like added rectangles and stuff you need to sew. So I'm gonna line this up. I'm gonna stitch this on because you're not gonna see these stitches. They're gonna be under the accent panel. This is just gonna hold the zip on for me. Which is gonna make this a lot easier to sew the accent panel on. And I'm sure some people do it differently to me, and that is okay. I like to basically base things in place, which is what I'm doing now. Basing is a glorious thing. Don't dismiss it too quickly. It doesn't overly matter where these are. The only place you'll see them is if you look inside at the zipper on the inside of the bag, which nobody does. Okay, so now the zip's on. we can take our accent panel that I have misplaced yet again. I swear I just had it. Base, zipper top. It's on the floor this time. Okay. I'm going to stick some double-sided tape on because it's going to go quicker for me to do it that way. Oops. I don't want it to move. I just maybe got to place it and stitch it. Now, because of the size of the zipper accent, my double-sided tape fits perfectly. This is 12 mil tape, I want to say. But you can get different sizes. So you can always buy like a skinny roll for such occasions as this if you didn't want it as wide. Because if you did a skinny tape, you would not actually sew through it, but it would still hold it in place for you. So I suppose it depends on your machine and if it can handle sewing through sticky tape, really. Alright, so I'm just using my foot to hold the bag in place while I put this on. And I'm just going to go along and line it up like that. You also want to move the zipper pull out of the way like that. Beautiful. Stuck on. Now you have to do is stitch it. So you just make sure everything's up out of the way. I'm going to start on the outside first. And I want a 3/4 stitch length because I want it to be decorative and pretty. So you just want to make sure everything's flat and then off you go. I'm doing 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the vinyl. And then up. And this would also look really cute if you were to play with the corners a little bit. So square corners are easy, so I do like that. You could do like cut off angled corners because they're the second easiest. Or if you wanted to feel adventurous, you could do rounded corners. All of which would work. Okay, so I'm going to do the inside one. So I'm going to do the same thing. Move the zipper out of the way. You'll notice this when I'm going a little bit slower because I don't want to accidentally slip off and get the zipper teeth. That would suck and I'd have to unpick it all. It's not really what I feel like doing today. Trim off the tails. Now, because this beautiful zipper pocket is huge, this is where I'm going to turn the bag out. So I'm just going to stitch down the sides. So I'm going to go back to my 2.5 joining length. Why are you misbehaving today? Just doesn't want to get started. It's like it wants coffee. You can't have coffee, that will break you. No, I didn't backstitch. Now I've got to go all the way back. Nothing worse than your inside pocket coming undone. Then you'll have to hand stitch it. Okay, so that side's done. So I've got my zipper pocket. I've got a glasses holder, which could double as a drink bottle holder or a bottle for a baby. I like it. All right. Put that down out of my way, and we are now onto the pleated pocket. So this has got the same accent thing going on. So the pattern said to fold it in half. Actually, we should read this because it's got a lot of stuff going on. Where are we? Fold the pleated pocket in half, right sides together, top to bottom, clip side seams together and stitch. Okay. I see where we're going with this. Because the top edge will be covered by the vinyl accent piece. Which, by the way, you don't have to make vinyl. You could just as easy make it fabric. It would definitely be easier to stitch. Turn it inside out. Place your accent trim over the raw edge. Okay, so I just want to make sure that my corners are out and nice and pointy. So I'm going to get my sew awl, which is my little stabby thing. I had to get my husband to sharpen it for me the other day because I actually managed to snap the tip off, which was not ideal at all, actually. All right. There we go. Accent piece. Now it says to tuck under your raw edge, but because this is vinyl, I am not doing that. If it's too long, I'll just trim it off. But if I was to tuck this under, that would be far too thick. I don't feel like snapping a needle today. So again, sticky tape down the center. Fold each side in. And then press down. This is a really nice vinyl to work with. If only I knew what it was called. Alright. You can always fold it in half. If you ever want to get it like a good crease, just rub it on a corner of a table. It helps a lot. Help set the crease in. Don't rub too much or you might damage your whatever you're rubbing, but just a little bit never hurt anybody. All right, 3/4 of an inch stitch length. Now I'm going to line this end up because worst case scenario is it doesn't fit at the other end. Vinyl's also going to make it a bit tricky to do the pleated pocket, I think, but that's okay. Whatever. Okay, so it was a little bit long because that's the bit that they leave in the pattern for you to tuck it under. So if you're doing fabric, tuck it under. If you're doing vinyl, chop it off. Chop off your tails. All right, done that. So then it wants you to find the center and don't clip this, obviously, that would be silly. So I'm just going to finger press it well. So that now needs to go in the center of your other lining piece. Make a nice crease there. You can always iron it out from the back later. All right, tails behind us. That's going there. Place it, I don't know. I'm doing like a hand width from the top because I still have to allow for other things to go there. Couple of back stitches. Stitch down and back stitch again. Trim that off. And then it wants you to mark. So again, Chaco pen, because it's black, because I don't know why I chose to do black, but whatever, it's pretty. 1 inch from the center on each side. Then we're going to fold that to the center like that, which you are definitely going to struggle with the vinyl, but I have my flat pliers. Really need to look into what they're actually called. So I am going to line it up and then just squish it. I use 2 hands and I hold it for like a few seconds to make sure it's going to squish properly. And then we're going to do the other side. It's the same thing. So you could even just grab it there, squish it. And then that goes to there like that. This one comes to here like this. And look at that, pleated pocket. Now this is going to be a nightmare for me to stitch. Absolute nightmare. Because I've done the vinyl. So my suggestion would be, do not do this in vinyl. Maybe do it in the outside main piece, or just on this I could have just done like a nice pale green. I don't have to actually stitch here, but I do want it to sit nicely. So I am going to squish it for an extended period of time. Alright, so now we just need to stitch down and around the bottom, making sure that everything is sitting where it needs to. So I'm just going to hold it with my hand over here to make sure that everything is going to stay straight. And I'm stitching 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And manually put it down so that it's lined up. That sits there so it's not crooked. And then twist. And again, so I'm holding that so it's nice and straight. You could also rule a line if you were a bit worried. And then back stitch. That's actually super pretty. Look at that. Oh, I love it. You probably can't see it because of the print. I'm sorry, I did not pick a good print for a video. But it's awesome. Oh, itchy nose. There's so much dust in this sewing room. All I do is cut fabric. All right, I'm gonna tidy up my space. That's a bit better. All right, now I just assume we join it together. Done the pockets, done all the pockets. Oh no, it wants us to do our zipper. So I need to quickly go up the top and find out what size zipper. Here. 30 inch. That seems like a long zipper. Oh no, that's in total. That's why. I was like, that's a long zipper. No, 18 inch. Much less dramatic. It was by a 30 inches worth of zipper for both the pocket pieces combined. Is what that was. That makes much more sense. Okay, so zip. I'm going to put that over there so it's not in my way. It's not on the floor. It is on the zipper box that's on the floor. And take that bit off. Oh, hold on a second. Sorry about that. That was my postie bringing me my red filament for my 3D printer. So I will have red skulls. Yay! Probably should have had a drink before I turned it back on. But anyway. So for those that haven't done one of these before, you're going to need some double-sided tape. So what I do is I line them up, put some tape on the end. Now if you join them close together, you can just do one big lot. Apparently that's not my thing today, so I'm going to do 2 separate ones. You could also, because of this is the lining piece, you could definitely iron this. But it's probably quicker to sit here and just sticky tape them. So I'm putting it right on the edge, and then I'm going to line up how much I'm going to fold. So we're going to stick this onto itself. but we want to make sure that all 4 pieces are the same length. So the best way to do that is use the ruler that is on your table. Or if you don't have one of these, get one of those cool stickers. You know, like these fishing stickers? Guys get stickers that they stick on their tool tackle box all the time. So I am going to make this 16.5 inches. I assume that's right. Still got the other end to do, and that'll take off 1/2 inch to make it 16. So we just want to fold under 1/2 inch like that, without sticky taping your finger, obviously. So now I've got no raw edge there. So I'm going to do this the same to all 4 pieces. You can even line it up here and then just to the start here. It's just as easy. Whatever makes you happy. You can measure it, you can mark it. You could mark it on the outside with a Chaco pen and then just fold it at the line. If you don't have a ruler. Even if this ruler's wrong, it's still a measuring point. Stick it down. 1, 2, 3. And 4. So now all 4 pieces are down to 16.5 inches. Like that. So even if you cut them odd, even if you had them a little bit different, it doesn't matter because you just fold more or less under. So obviously these 2 are the top and these 2 are the bottom. So now what we need to do is we need to take our zip and split it open a little bit. Now I'm going to go into detail with this because I've seen a lot of people get a little bit confused. You then want to grab this top corner here and bend it down to a right angle like this. So what I did was I took that top corner and just bent it on itself, and from the top I can see this. Oh, I'm using black, that was silly. So I'm bending it down so that you can see that you get this little kind of bubble, but that's okay. And then we're just going to stitch that down. Now sometimes it is likely to move on you, so pinch it at the teeth part. Just bend it down like that to a right angle. Stick it under. And you just want a couple of like basting stitches along the edge of the tape. So you want to be far, far away from the teeth because we don't want to see this later. This is just to hold it in place while we stitch it. So now I've got one side that's funky looking. So even though I pulled it down to a right angle, once you stitch it, it doesn't tend to stay there. So then I do the same to the other side. Pull it down till it touches a right angle. So even though that one looks like it's further down, the teeth veer out at the same spot. And I think you'll find that it will lift that little bit because mine always do, but it's not going to affect your zipper. Because here's the thing, if you do these crooked, all you do is cut a little bit off your end of the crooked one that's longer, and you'll have the same size zip again. Because I literally now separate those anyway. I only do that while they're joined so that I don't do 2 of the same end, because then you can't use your zip. So I always do that joined and then I separate them because life is much, much easier. All right, so then we're just going to do a zip like we normally would. So we put right sides up and then zipper right side up. You can baste this on, but I'm just going to clip it with my skulls. Wouldn't it be cool if you could get skull-shaped wonder clips? I would definitely invest in those. Or printed ones. Ooh. There's a business idea for someone. Make printed clips. All right, so I'm gonna use lots of pins on there or clips on this because I don't really feel like having it break on me. Now I've got the folded end this end, so that's where the excess comes off. Then we're going to take another one and we want to make sure that the folded end is also going to go there. And then we're going to line it up at the top and just clip it into the clips. Now you can do all three at once if you prefer. I think this is ultimately quicker because I'm not fighting it as much. Do, do, do. Okay, so now I've got my clips in. I am going to stitch along there and then down, and I'm going to stop at the edge of the fabric-y bit. And this is why we separate the zip, because now it doesn't matter. And I'm going to stitch with like a 1/2 inch seam allowance at the end to make sure that I'm hiding that end that we folded. It's now going to be in the seam allowance. Needle down and pivot, and then, oh, I've gone a little bit down too far. I'm just going to have my foot run along the edge of the zipper. Alright, so then I get to the end, and I'm going to stitch right to it and then back stitch. You don't want to stitch off it because you don't really want to see those excess stitches. It's not a big deal if you do it, but if you can avoid it, it's a good idea. Then I'm going to take my zipper scissors, which yes, you should have separate scissors for your zippers because they go blunter quick. And then these are no good at cutting anything but zips and plastic. Unless I got them sharpened, but then they'd still just have the same problem. So now I'm just going to push that out. And now you have a beautiful zip. So I'm going to start at this end, and now I'm going to top stitch. So I'm going to come down this end to seal there, and then top stitch along and then off the end. And I'm going to top stitch in my 3 3/4 stitch length so that it's decorative and pretty, because I like pretty. It's my thing. It's also because I'm using vinyl, I don't want to over perforate it. We've already done a normal stitch length underneath. We don't want it to tear. So I'm just tugging. So I've got the zipper in one hand and I've got the fabric in the other, and I'm just pulling them taut so that nothing's bunching up. And I'm just stitching 1/8 of an inch from the edge of everything. Needle down, pivot, and then back stitch and off the end. So that is now one side of your zipper. So now we're just going to do the same to the other side. So because we've already got our bit, we know what's going on. We want to make sure that our zipper sits along this edge this time. So we've still got the end, so the open end needs to be at the folded end. So we're just going to go the other way. One side always feels more comfortable to do than the other. I don't know why, it's just a thing. But I'm always pinning from the bit that I've tacked down because there is an excess amount of zipper. Only a little bit, but it is still excess. So you want that to hang off the opened end. Like so. 2 more clips should be enough. 1 and 2. And then I'm just going to grab this piece and join it in. So I'm going to start at the folded end because that has to match up. If the other end's longer, it will be lost in the seam allowance, so it's not a huge deal. It also shouldn't be longer because we manually made sure that all the pieces were the same length. But you know, things stretch or whatever. So just in case that happens, we start from the folded end, like so. So now I am going to start from that end because I want the bulk of my stuff out this side. I also need to go back to my joining stitch length. So I'm going to do a couple of stitches forward and back, making sure I don't go off the fabric. And I'm lining my zipper, my foot up along the edge of my zipper. And then I'm going to get 1/2 inch from the end and I'm going to stitch across. That's not quite 1/2 inch. One more. There we go. The reason we do 1/2 inch is just to make sure that we get all the zipper tape in that seam. Then I'm going to chop off some of that excess so that it turns out nicer. Chop off my tails at the start point so that they're out of my way. And then again, we can just turn it out. These used to hurt my brain. I don't know why. But how I've just done it there is the easiest way I know how to explain it. So now we're going to top stitch again. I'm starting from this end this time because, again, I like the bulk out from under my machine. And then we're going to pivot and stitch 1/8 of an inch down. Same stitch length so that they match. That's important. We like things to match. And again, I'm just pulling both sides taut so that there's no ripples, especially underneath in the lining. You don't want to catch the lining in a big bubble because then you'll have to unpick it. That's never ideal. And then needle down, pivot, line up the ends, stitch off. Now I'm not going to put my zipper on yet. I don't feel the need. If you put your zipper on, it's going to close the end. It's going to make it way harder. So I always put the zipper tab on as like one of the last things I do. Cool. So now we need to put this in. So you need to decide which pocket you want to have and which way you want the zip to go. I usually always go with the zipper pocket and then copy that one. So I want my zip to end here, right? So that it will end where it's bent. So this zip's going that way. So I want the top zip to do the same thing. So this is where I'm at. But I am going to fold this in half and just do a tiny little clip, not with those. I don't feel like cutting my finger. Get my clip scissors. Again, if you haven't watched a video of mine before, these are $4 from Bunnings in like they're for cutting trimmings and cuttings of trees. They are awesome. I highly recommend them. They are intensely sharp for $4 and they have lasted me, probably a year so far, and they're still strong, still going strong. Then I'm going to just clip the center because that way I can just line up the notches of the zip. Zip in the center. So we want right sides up, and then this will just be sewn directly into the seam. So clip, we're going to need a lot of clips. Clip, 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 all the way up to the edge. And then we're going to go the other way. Now, if you want to, you can baste this in place. I'm not going to bother because we're now up to... Oh, no, actually, I will bother. That's a lie. I am going to baste it. I've still got to join everything. It's much easier to put this on now rather than later. So again, I'm just going to, not even going to worry about what stitch length I'm on. I'm just going to do a 1/8 of an inch seam. Stick this down. Beautiful. Look at that. because now it's one piece again. I love things when they're one piece. That looks really fun. Always go into a pattern with an open mind. I knew this was going to be cool because I like the whole hobo style, but this is like extra cool. I really like the pockets. I'm glad I did what the pattern told me to do. Now, theoretically, you should already know where the center is because you sewed your center line there. I can just do that and clip it there, much easier. Okay, clip scissors away. And again, line this up. So this is going to feel like it's going the opposite way. It's because it is. That's okay though. Clip it in place. Now, you don't have to use as many clips as me. You can do more, you can do less. Normally I would probably do none, to be totally honest, but that's not teaching good sewing etiquette, so we won't do that. Normally I would start in the center and just stitch out and flip it over and do it the other way. But it's more stopping and starting, and it's not necessarily a good idea to do that. So again, 1/8 of an inch. Don't care what my stitch length is. It's literally just to hold it in place. So you can have it, I've got it on 3 3/4 because I top stitched recently. You could have it set to a normal stitch length. It won't matter. You can make it longer. You can make it shorter. Don't make it too short though because it's vinyl and you'll over perforate it. Okay. Woo! We're up to the joiny bits. So now we are going to move the zip out of the way. So you might even just want to clip that so it doesn't go into your seam. So I'm just going to clip it to itself. It stays out of my way. Doesn't matter where you clip it, just fold it over so it's out of the way. And so you don't have a clip in your way. Might also help the cause. And then to join your top sides together, we're going to stitch down the edge. Now I'm going to go to my joining stitch length. And then I'm going to backstitch. Now the most important thing here is that you do the same stitch length that you did when you did the outside. So that's the same size. Now I'm going to go slowly here because I've got my vinyl accent, so I'm about to stitch through like all of that, which is chunky. Slow and steady wins the race. My machine does not like heavy things as much as you might think. I just make it do it. It's not actually an industrial heavy-duty machine. But it made it, so we're fine. That's all that matters. Alright, other side. Same thing. Backstitch. Stitch down. This side's much easier because there's nothing else in there. Now the tail I missed. Okay. Look at that. Looking wonderful. So now we're going to find the center of the bottom. So another really easy way to do that is to just join up the two seams you just created and then clip, making sure your fingers are well and truly out of the way if you're going to use your snips. It's not good for them anyway, it makes them blunt. But my finger has proof of many, many times where you should just not do that. Okay, so now we're going to put our bottom in. Just get my damn clip scissors. It's fine. I don't feel like having a bleeding finger today. It's not worth it. And then you can actually just fold this in half again. And that'll give you the center of both sides. Ta-da! Alright, now if your fabric is directional and you care about what direction it is, think about that now as you're putting it in. Mine's fine. So we're just going to clip actually, you know what? I'm not going to clip it because I know I don't have to. I have done this enough times now that I can sew this without clipping. So because we're trying to do it as close to how I normally would, let's just, not clip it. So what I do is I do the first bit, I do the straight, and then as I get to the not straight part, I will go to, you can't see, the join there, and I'm going to grab that clip that I've done and hold it in place, pretending that my hand is a clip, and then everything else will just fit in around it. Ta-da! So I'm going to adjust the bag, feed them both in pretty evenly, needle down, grab that center point, making sure that they're lined up because that's important, and off we go. So again, get rid of this. This is my tail from when I just started, but I don't want to stitch it in the way. So again, I'm going to grab the clip that we made at the corner, well not the corner, the short edge, and join that with the seam so that that's going to be perfectly aligned. And then I'm just stitching around. So as an advanced sewer, you should definitely try this. I never do it for the outside though. The outside is not as flexible, so it doesn't work. I still clip the outside because I'm fighting, you know, usually bag foam and stabilizer and vinyl. But the lining, being as flexible as it is, works wonders. Ta-da! Now we've got our inside, which is awesome. We need these bad boys back. The ones that we did right at the start. I like to do my small bits at the start, then I won't forget to do them. So we're going to grab our outside, and at the top part of the outside, clip them on. Now I clip them on with two, because it gives it more stability, like so. Then I'm going to turn my lining out the right way, which technically is inside out for it, but whatever. And we're just going to slot it into the bag. Now again, if you did an embroidered front pocket, or you like one side more than the other, think about how you want this to go in. Mine aren't, so it doesn't matter. And then we're just going to clip everything together, making sure that our zippers are facing in, because we don't want them in the way. And if you've done everything right, this just fits perfectly. Look at this. So the edge of your zipper accent will line up perfectly with like the rigid edge of the outside. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. I see a lot more of these bags in my future, and I'll probably even do all the pockets, which may or may not surprise you. So that glasses pocket, you could put a layer of inshell batting that you can buy, Spotlight sell it. You usually use it for like oven mitts, so it keeps the heat out, but in this particular instance, it would keep the cold in or the warm in for the bottle. So you could have your bottle in an insulated pockety bit. It'd be super cool. You could also, if you wanted to, instead of doing the vinyl accent that I did, you could do a drawstring section so that it actually like gets held in there, or put elastic in the top. Do like a little casing and put elastic in there so that it's kind of holding it in place so it won't fall out. That'd be super cool too. I've already apparently mentally decided that this is going to be like a baby bag. I feel like it's the right size. It's a good size. Anyway, we're nearly finished. I'm just going to make the strap. I decided to do the strap at the end just because, I don't know, really. I wanted to. Do. pinned that wrong. There we go, that's better. I pulled one bit too tight, so the pins weren't even. Okay, so now I'm gonna sew basically to the inside. Doesn't really matter where you start. Make sure you've got a good seam allowance going. Back stitch, and just sew along. Pull your zips out as you go. Now when you get to the end, there's vinyl there, so slow down. You can even do, like, I do a couple of stitches forward and then backwards, just to help reinforce that, because that's where the whole bag will be carried from. So the heavier the bag is, the more strain will be put on those points. Keep twisting the bag around with you as you go. And because it's such a big bag, keep an eye on your stitches. Make sure you don't run out of thread like I did. I'm at that top bit again. Oh, really? I just said it and then I ran out of thread. That's fine. Another bobbin. So I lift my foot up so I'm not going to damage the bottom of it as it's doing this. Again, I'm doing a bobbin, so I take a little plunger that I got from my baby medicine. Not that I have a baby anymore, I've just had this for a really long time. And I just put like a couple of drops on the bobbin. And it will, because there's a little kind of sponge in the bobbin thing on these, and it can only hold so much oil, so they dry out relatively quickly. So a machinist that used to service my machine told me that every time I wind a bobbin, I should put some in there. And you should also wind your bobbin with your foot flat to the floor, because it helps get all the oil through your machine. Don't overfill your bobbin. I possibly just did exactly that, but it's not quite full. 100% full is a naughty bobbin, in my opinion. That also could be because I backstitched so far, so it doesn't like that very much. And you'll also notice just then that I don't rethread the entire machine, because there's like a tricky bit here. It's not so much tricky, but it's definitely time consuming to do. So I just tie the old one onto the new one, and it saves me probably like an hour a day with how many times I change thread. Okay, so because all of this come undone, the first thing I need to do is go and find this and clip it back on. Because I ran out of bobbin thread, probably directly after I said, make sure you don't run out of bobbin thread. Anyway, bag back under. Make sure everything's lined up. Over we go. Back stitch over that section. Then I'm just gonna grab that, pop out. Get to the end, back stitch a little bit. Oh, look at that. Oh. Alright, so now we're going in our giant zipper pocket. Now if this was a smaller pocket, I would have actually left the bottom of the bag open, but we don't need to. Ha 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 ha. That was wonderfully easy to turn out. Push out all the base. Now you might need to roll some of this with your fingers, and then to get like a nice crisp kind of bend, I just move it back and forth in my fingers like this to help create that so it sits nicer. Because otherwise you get these weird bits, which we don't want. Right. Push all of that in. If you're happy and you don't have any holes anywhere, you can then just stitch up your zipper pocket. So I'm just going to use my fingers and fold that bit under. Stitch a few, back stitch a few. I'm doing it in sections, so I'm lining it up in sections because it's a big pocket. Alright, pop that in. Now, we're going to top stitch this bag as well. So I'm going to start at one of these parts. I am still to put a thing in, but I'm getting to that. I figure I'll do that at the end. So I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch because I have faith that I'm not going to fall off the edge on this bag. Back stitch, and around we go. You just want to make sure that the rest of the bag's not in your way while you're doing it. Just keep spinning, just keep spinning. So just then I definitely forgot that I was recording and started singing. Sorry. Got a little bit sidetracked with my top stitching. Whoopsies. Cool. Right. Zipper. In my beautiful handy dandy zipper jig. Which my husband did say he will make a video, but he's currently not here. So you'll have to wait. Ha! Now I just need my zipper tab, which I don't know where that is. So we'll skip that for the minute. And we'll do our strap, because we're doing our strap differently to the way I would normally do it. Pen, ruler, center, so it's 2 inches, but it's twice the length that we need. Why, you may ask? You're about to find out. Alright, line down the center, sticky tape down the center. I'm going to have to go shopping for sticky tape. I'm down to my last roll again. That's not ideal. I'm accumulating pens on the wrong side of my machine. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to thread both of these onto here. There's no point in sticky taping it just yet. I need to sew it together. So I'm going to take the right sides, and I probably should have just left a little bit less sticky tape, but whatever, such is life. I'm going to sew those 2 ends together. So I'm just going to use, I don't know, 1/4 inch. Making sure I backstitch. So now we have a loop. So now we just need to get that double-sided tape off, which I stitched through, so that wasn't super ideal, but that's okay. It'll still come off. And then we're going to fold it like we normally would. just in a circle. So I'm just going to pull it little bits at a time, work my way around. Now this is really good supple vinyl. It's soft and flexible, so I don't think I'm going to have any issues with it lifting. If yours is being a little bit more difficult, just add some clips. Alright, we're moving the clips. We can actually go move it onto the bit we've now taped and pop them over there so they're out of the way. And then keep pulling. I'm not pulling it all off because I don't want it to get stuck to something annoying. Like the table or whatever. I don't know, my dogs usually pop over and say hello, so I don't want it to stick to them either. It's definitely not ideal. Home stretch. Okay, so now all we have to do is stitch it down like that, right? So I just want to make sure that my join is just a little bit off the edge because I'm going to stitch down, across, down and up. So I'm going to do a giant rectangle. I'm going to start at the edge where the join is so that I know I've got it right. I'm going up to 3 3/4 stitch length because it's vinyl and it's decorative. So I'm going to do a couple back stitches and then forward. And then I want to do about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and I just want to make sure that both these are lined up evenly. Like this. So I'm just holding them at both sides and stitching. Again, you can flip this if you wish, or you could make your strap a completely different way, but this is just another way. And I was trying very hard to do the pattern as it said it, because I have a bad habit of just going off on my own little tangent. One more pivot. And down we go. And again, the other side is always quicker because everything's already held in place for you. Chop off all of the tails. Grab a lighter, singe the last little bit. Always use the blue part of the flame as it won't singe your stuff. So look, we're nearly finished. All we need to do now is put a zipper end on here and some rivets here. So I'm going to hit pause, go grab all that, and I'll be right back. Let's do the rivets first because that's got the most stuff on my bench. And again, you don't have to do this. You could have just as easily have stitched it. I just wanted a little bit of an accent here. And the rivets will look nice. I love rivets. Alright, so I'm just putting them on here, basically so it doesn't pop open and show you the inside. There's no other real reason for it. And it's pretty. So my hole punch is from Bunnings, because they're cheaper there than anywhere else that I've found so far. So that's those now on. Now I just need to do my zipper tab. So the pattern does come with an actual piece that I've laminated. I had it over there on the floor, so I had to pause and go get it. So I'm just going to put a piece of double-sided tape roughly in the center. It doesn't need to be perfectly. It's just basically to hold everything in place. And then you can actually, if you want to, even fold the raw edges in a little bit. So like that. And then you just put it in half and put it on the bag like that. So now it's sticky taped there. You can stitch around it. So we're going to stick to our 3 3/4 stitch length that we did for the top stitching. Do a couple of back stitches to lock it in. And then twist. So I'm going to twist the whole bag out of the way so you can see. Sew down. Needle in the down position. Swivel. So I'm going to come back this way. And then swivel again. Come up the side, back stitch. Awesome. All right, we're done. One hobo bag. So it's got pockets here and here. If you wanted to, you could do a little kind of zip pocket here before you joined it and have it all in the seams as well. It's perfect for small panels. Yeah, and then the inside is just like full of epic pockets, and I really, I just gotta push it in. I haven't pushed it in yet. There we go. I'm really happy with how the inside of that bag came up. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will try and do another tutorial for you tomorrow.